Welcome back to Newsroom Weekly Review, your Middle East U.S. entertainment news here on YouTube. I'm Jan7th. It was a great week off. A little snow here yesterday and early this morning. It feels good to be back. I hold the Iraqi Dinar, so I bring you the latest on reforms and economics based on reports put out by the Middle East news media outlets. I do this weekly review based off my interest. Thank you everyone who joins me. I appreciate all your positive feedback, your continued support through your likes, comments, and shares. Thank you everyone again for being here. First, let's look at last week's highlights. Al Farat News reports the federal Supreme Court approved the results of the House of Representatives elections in the 5th legislative session. The federal court rejected the case of canceling the election results and the appeals submitted regarding the quota in the session it held last Monday, the 26th. The head of the court said that the federal court decided to reject the claim of non-ratification of results and to charge the complainant with all the expenses. The court did not change the women's seats in the elections and made it clear that the appeals may only be made before the appeals board, and indicated that the Judicial Council has the exclusive authority to solve problems resulting from the elections. However, it has called on the next parliament to amend the electoral laws and adopt the manual counting system exclusively. Shafak News reported the leader of the Satirist movement, Muqtada al-Sadrs, welcomes last Monday the federal Supreme Court ratification of election results, calling for a speedy formation of the national majority government. Al-Sadr says in a tweet to him, seen by Shafak News Agency, "Thank you to everyone who contributed to the national democratic wedding, especially the Supreme Judiciary. And I especially mention Brother Fake Zayden, the federal court, the election commission, and the special representative, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Janine Plashart, and to all partners for the Iraqi people who were patient and won. And thank you for the reference, the sponsors and advocates for the electoral carnival, which deserves our praise, thanks, and celebration." Al-Sadr's calls for preserving peace and peace as the homeland is a trust in our necks by expediting the formation of a government and a national majority, neither Eastern nor Western, that shines its light from the homeland and provides the people with services and safety. For his part, the Victory Coalition, led by Hadar al-Abadi, announced its acceptance of the federal court's decision regarding the 2021 elections. Shafak News reports the ongoing president of the Iraqi Republic, Barham Saleh, announced Thursday that he had signed the Republican decree to call a new parliament to convene on Sunday, January 9th, 2022. This comes from a few days after the approval of the federal Supreme Court, the highest judicial authority in Iraq, on the results of the early legislative elections that took place on the 10th of last October. Saleh said in a post on social network site Twitter that hopes to set to meet the national entitlement by forming a capable and effective government that protects the interests of the country and enhances sovereignty as a protector and servant of the Iraqis. This requires joining hands in order to achieve the reform required for a stable and prosperous Iraq, he adds. And finally, we're catching up with this week's Newsroom Weekly Review highlights. Baghdad Ops Leaks reports the advisor to Prime Minister Hussein Alawi said Saturday, January 1, 2022, that the government faces great challenges in the past year. Alawi added during a televised meeting, which was followed by the Ops Leaks, that Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kazimi was able to hold integrated Iraqi elections, and the President of the Republic, Barham Saleh, also called on the Iraqi Parliament to hold first sessions. He explained that the economic situation has witnessed great developments as well as remarkable progress in the regional and international relations, which helps a lot overcoming these crises, especially with the spread of the corona pandemic in the country and the rise of oil prices. He stressed that the Iraqi government was able to make an achievement in the security sector during the year 2021 as it's developed the performance of armed forces to confront terrorism. He pointed out that the Iraqi, Jordanian, and Iraqi Iraqi-Egyptian relations have witnessed a great development on the economic side. And he continued, as al-Kazimi has achieved a historic achievement with the agreement he concluded with the U.S. President Joe Biden regarding the withdrawal of combat forces and the end of their mission in Iraq. Shafak News reported an informal political meeting on Tuesday. The most important topics were discussed by the head of Progress Allowance, Mohammed al-Habousi, with the leader of the Satirist movement, Muqtada al-Sadrs. In Najaf, was said that al-Habousi supports al-Sadrs in addressing the upcoming political scene and managing the country's affairs through the largest bloc and the majority government, while later supporting al-Habousi's assumptions of the presidency of parliament, again within the framework of agreeing by adopting a national legislative program based on legislating laws that achieve the public's interest without partisan interest and upgrading the political reality away from the quotas control that were in place. Alpharet News reports the media department of the House of Representatives has decided that the Great Hall of House as a venue for the first session next Sunday, and called the representatives of the Iraqis, Arabs, and foreign media to cover the first session of the 5th electoral cycle, which will be held at the Great Hall of House of Representatives on Sunday, which is the 9th. Shafak News reported the Ministry of Oil, Jabbar Ishmael, announced on Wednesday the cabinet's approval for the national oil company to acquire ExxonMobil shares in the West Qurna 1 field, which is one of the giant fields. ExxonMobil shares is 32.7% in the West Qurna 1 field. The West Qurna field is one of the largest oil fields in Iraq, and oil was extracted from it for the first time in 1973. It is estimated that it contains 24 billion barrels of oil reserves. During the year 2010, Iraq signed several contracts with international companies to develop its oil field within the first and second licensing round. Most of these fields were contracted in the fields of the South, and Exxon was one of the first companies that won the contract for West Qurna field, the first phase within the alliance of several companies. The other partners in the field are Japan at 19.6%, Indonesia at 10%, and Iraqi State Oil Exploration Company 5%. However, Iraq rejected the deal and wanted to replace ExxonMobil with another American company, not less than American companies that seek to get out of the field or buy the Basra Oil Company its share. Shafak News, Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kazimi arrives Thursday in Najaf Governorate. The visit came 2 days after al-Kazimi approved the resignation of the governor of Najaf, Louay al-Yazari, and assigned the first deputy governor to Hashim Kayari to run the province. Shafak News reported yesterday that the United States of America renewed its commitment to support Iraq and continue the strategic partnership between the two countries. This came in a statement issued by the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad on the occasion of the 101st anniversary of the founding of the Iraqi Army. We join our Iraqi friends and partners in honoring the service and sacrifice of the Iraqi security forces, including the Peshmerga, and applaud the extraordinary progress that have been made in the fight against ISIS remnants. The statement said, "The United States remains deeply committed to its multifaceted strategic partnership with Iraq, working in its Iraqi friends and partners to continue building a stable, prosperous, democratic, and united Iraq." Baghdad Obslis reported the President of the Republic, Barham Saleh, and the U.S. Ambassador to Iraq, Matthew Tweller, stressed Thursday, January 6th, the need to reduce tensions in the regions. The meeting discussed the bilateral relations that unite the two countries and their strengthening in various political, economic, culture, and environmental fields through the existing strategic dialogue between the two countries. He pointed out that the meeting dealt with developments on the regional arena of mutual interests, stressing the need to establish peace in the region and ease tensions surrounding its dialogue, and the importance of Iraq's pivotal role in its region. Shabak News then reported the White House has identified the reasons for the increase in attacks on American interest in Iraq and Syria, likely to be among the reasons of the Vienna negotiations and the anniversary of the killing of the commander of the Quds Force in Iranian Revolutionary Guard, Qasem. White House spokesman Jin said during a briefing Thursday evening, "We cannot say exactly who carried out the recent attacks or why it appears that these attacks have increased. There is no doubt that this may be related to the negotiations in Vienna or the anniversary annual strike. We are still working now to determine who's exactly bears the responsibility and what the intentions are, which is why we don't have any further analytical conclusions." Jen. And our last article going into next week, reported by Shabak News Agency, the joint delegation of the two main parties in the Kyrgyzstan Democratic Region and the Patriots Union of Kyrgyzstan is scheduled to visit the capital Baghdad today to begin negotiations to form the next new federal government. According to the information available to Shabak News agencies, the joint delegation is headed by the leaders of the Kyrgyzstan Democratic Party and the leader of the Patriotic Union of Kyrgyzstan, who will hold a series of meetings with Shiite and Sunni political force prior to the session of the Iraqi parliament in its new sessions next Sunday. The information indicated that the delegation will discuss during the meeting the issues of naming the three presidencies, the President of the Republic, the Speaker of Parliament, and the Prime Minister, as well as the formation of the next federal government. According to the information, the most prominent content of the negotiation paper carried out by the delegation is the settlement of disputes and outstandings, issues between Erbil and Baghdad, including the issues of employment salaries, the country's public financial budget and the region's shares in it, and the oil and gas laws, in addition to the Federal Council. That's it for this week's Newsroom Weekly Review, your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on reforms and economics. I try to bring you all the latest Dinar news without having to keep up with all the different outlets. I'm Jan7th, Newsroom here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my content, give me a thumbs up. I will see you next Friday for your next Newsroom update. Shout out to Currency365 for his continued support. If you want to learn about stocks and cryptos, you can join him and his crew for the most recent updates. You can find him on YouTube or Patreon. Thank you everyone again for joining me. I hope you guys had a fantastic Christmas and a Happy New Year's celebration with your family and friends. I had a fantastic week with mine. Thank you guys again so much. Don't forget to subscribe and take care. Make sure you join us Fridays, 4 p.m. with Newsroom Updates with Jan7th Entertainment News.